user controls are a replacement for your hash include files that you probably did in the ASP days. Yeah, they're kind of like an include file on steroids, basically. All right. They contain HTML, server controls, and code. You can have properties. You can have events. You can have methods inside of these user controls. How many of you use user controls on their web apps? Okay, good. You can reuse them in multiple projects, okay? But to do that, you do have to copy them from project to project, right? They do have to live in that particular virtual directory, okay? They don't live in the toolbox. They are simply a .ascx file with the appropriate code behind files as well that live in the project, okay? These are really handy for doing composite controls when you want to put together a lot of different controls, maybe like a name and address, you know, maybe your header and your menu bar or something. User controls are really good for that. I like to always use user controls when I know that these are controls that are going to change from site to site, all right? But I can use them for the flexibility that I get where I can just drag them onto every page, and then all I ever have to do is change one control, and the whole site can change that way, right? I mean, that's really what we use these for. All right, to create a user control, a lot of different ways to do it. If you want, you could just build a regular ASPX page with all the different controls you want, and then add a new web control, and then copy and paste, right, from one over to the other. That's pretty easy. Or you just create a new user control and drag and drop your controls on and create it all right there. Many different ways. I've thrown in a few tips throughout this particular session because I get a lot of questions on user controls and other controls. And the one I get a lot is, hey, if I have some JavaScript, how do I actually reference a control from JavaScript, okay, in that user control? Well, one of the things that you can do, for example, if you want to set focus, okay, to a particular text box control that's living on a user control, okay, is what you can do is in your body tag of your HTML, do an onload equals, give it the JavaScript function name, and then to reference the control itself on that user control, it's the user control name, colon, and then your actual control name. Okay? Then here's the little FN set focus function up here, right? Okay, so that's just one way that you can set focus in JavaScript. All right, but you always have to prefix it with that user control's name. That's kind of the key there. A lot of these things they don't really point out a lot, right, in the help. So a lot of these you just kind of have to find somebody that can figure that out for you. All right, so let's do this real quick. I mean, a user control, pretty simple to do. I'm just going to go in, build a brand new web app here. Okay. Paul's test. So it comes up with web form 1. I may add another web form 2. Okay, maybe put a button on web form 1 and have it call web form 2. Okay, so now what I might want to do is create a user control. So what I'll do is I'll add a web user control, and I'll call it header. Okay, and then on here I might add an image. Let me just go out and grab an image somewhere. Copy this guy into my solution. Okay, drag and drop it onto here. Okay, maybe I might put a label out here as well. All right, so I got this nice little user control here. Now all I got to do basically is drag this header.ascx onto this page. Okay, drag it onto this page. Okay, maybe move these guys around a little bit. Like so. And then when I run the app, obviously they both get the same user control. And what's nice about that, obviously, there we go, is all I have to do is make the change for that header in one place, right? It's pretty darn simple. Okay, so you can see both pages get that user control. You should use this. This is one of my, I have this 10 tips of a good .NET application. I did that at the user group. If you were at the user group last month when I spoke, okay, I showed this as one of the techniques of making sure that you're using these user controls for any reusable bits across your website, because it does make it very easy to change that, obviously. Okay. Another use for these is to build up a set of controls that you might use over and over again on a website. And for that, I'm going to go ahead to one that I know I've already got built over here. So I've got a sample project here that I've created, and this is the one that I'm going to actually give out on our website here. So here I've got some controls, and one of the controls that I have is name and address. Okay, name and address. And so what I did is I put a label and a text box, a label and a text box, and a label and a text box. Because maybe I'm going to use this on a few different pages, right? So that was the idea here. So that I wanted to be able to have a composite control. But remember, this is a user control, so you do have to include it in every project that you want to have it in. Okay, that's one of the one of the downfalls there. Okay. But like I said, user controls should be a key part of your web application. We use them for headers, right? Our header area, like I just showed you. We use them for our left navigation. We'll use them for footers, okay, on every page. Things like that. Yeah.
So you don't use frames at all?
Do we use frames? Yes and no. It kind of depends, right? It depends on who we're designing for, if they want frames or not, what the application is, really.
What is your preference?
My preference of frames versus not frames is not to use them as much as I can. I prefer using user controls, tables. We use div tags a lot with absolute positioning because we have found that most browsers support that. I haven't really found a modern browser that does not support div tags with absolute positioning. So we use that a lot. That in combination with user controls, I get really great flexibility. Yeah, good question. Okay. So header and left navigation. Let's take a look at this, all right, as a user control.